Hello, and welcome to Mythos and Musings. In today's video, we're diving into one of the most fascinating intersections of history and faith, archaeology and the Bible. The Bible is widely regarded as one of the most influential texts in human history. It has shaped spiritual beliefs, cultural norms, and ethical foundations for billions of people across the world. But for many, the question remains, how much of what we read in the Bible is fact, and how much is myth or allegory? While the Bible is a religious document, it is also a historical record filled with stories of ancient kings, cities, and events. But how do we know that these events actually happened? That's where archaeology comes in. Today, we'll look at some of the most significant archaeological discoveries related to the Bible. These findings either support the narratives found in the scriptures or, in some cases, offer new perspectives and raise questions. We'll explore what archaeology reveals about ancient Israel and how these discoveries help us understand the world of the Bible. Biblical archaeology is a unique field that blends history, religion, and science. It involves the study of ancient artifacts, inscriptions, and ruins to better understand the ancient world of the Bible. From the Dead Sea Scrolls to ancient cities like Jericho and Jerusalem, archaeology provides us with physical evidence of the people, places, and events described in the Bible. While some discoveries have reinforced the accuracy of biblical accounts, others have introduced debates and raised new questions. The challenge in biblical archaeology is that the ancient world was so different from the world we live in today. Many of the sites we study were built thousands of years ago, and over time, they have been destroyed, altered, or buried beneath layers of earth and rubble. Despite these challenges, archaeology plays a crucial role in providing context to the Bible. It helps us better understand the ancient cultures that shaped biblical stories and gives us insight into the world of ancient Israel. However, it's important to remember that archaeology can never prove or disprove the Bible entirely. It can only offer evidence that supports or challenges certain aspects of biblical history. So, what have we learned from archaeology about ancient Israel? Let's take a look at some of the most significant discoveries. 1. The Tel Dan Stele, evidence of King David. Let's start with one of the most important finds in biblical archaeology, the Tel Dan Stele. Discovered in northern Israel in the 1990s, the Tel Dan Stele is a 9th century BCE inscription that contains the first extra-biblical reference to the house of David. Before the discovery of this stele, there were debates about whether King David, the famous biblical king of Israel, was a real historical figure or simply a legendary character created in later texts. Some scholars believed that David's existence outside the Bible was a myth. But the Tel Dan Stele changes all that. The inscription mentions a military victory by the Aramean king Hazael over the Israelites, and it refers to the house of David as a real, recognizable entity in the ancient world. This confirms that the dynasty of David was not just a biblical story, but a historical reality recognized by other ancient cultures. While the Tel Dan Stele doesn't provide all the details of David's reign as described in the Bible, it serves as strong evidence that David was a historical figure, lending credibility to the biblical narrative of his rule over Israel. 2. The Mesha Stele, a Moabite account of Israelite conflicts. Next, we turn to the Mesha Stele, an inscription commissioned by King Mesha of Moab dating back to the 9th century BCE. The Mesha Stele describes King Mesha's victories over the Israelites, specifically a military campaign in which he fought against the forces of the Israelite King Omri. The Stele describes Mesha's liberation of the Moabite city of Nebo and his claims of victory over Israel, which aligns with the biblical account found in 2 Kings 3. In that chapter, we read about a battle between Israel, Judah, and Moab, which results in Israel's defeat. The Mesha Stele offers a rare non-Israelite perspective on this biblical conflict, confirming that the Moabites indeed fought against Israel during the time of King Omri. What's remarkable about this inscription is that it provides a Moabite perspective on the events described in the Bible, giving us a glimpse into how neighboring civilizations viewed their interactions with Israel. It's an invaluable artifact for understanding the political and military history of the region. 3. The Lachish Letters, the final days before Jerusalem's fall. Now let's move to the Lachish Letters, a series of clay tablets found in the ruins of the ancient city of Lachish in Judah. These letters were written during the Babylonian siege of Judah in the early 6th century BCE, and they offer a fascinating eyewitness account of the final days before the fall of Jerusalem. The Lachish Letters describe the fear and desperation of Judah's defenders as they prepared for the coming siege. One of the letters mentions the lack of communication with Jerusalem, while others express concerns about enemy forces approaching. The contents of these letters closely align with the biblical descriptions of the Babylonian conquest found in Jeremiah 34. What makes the Lachish Letters so compelling is that they offer a contemporary account of the events leading up to the destruction of Jerusalem. These letters were written by people who lived through the siege, providing a vivid and personal perspective on one of the most dramatic events in biblical history. The Pool of Siloam, a site from the Second Temple period. Next, we turn to a more recent discovery, the Pool of Siloam, mentioned in the New Testament in John 9. According to the Bible, Jesus healed a blind man at the Pool of Siloam. For years, some skeptics questioned the existence of this pool, assuming it was merely a biblical reference with no archaeological evidence to support it. That changed in 2004, when archaeologists uncovered the ancient Pool of Siloam during excavations in Jerusalem. The pool, which dates back to the Second Temple period, is a significant site in Jewish history and is mentioned not only in the New Testament, but also in Jewish texts. The discovery of the Pool of Siloam provides physical evidence of a biblical location, confirming that the site existed in the time of Jesus, and further establishing the historical accuracy of the New Testament account. It's a prime example of how archaeology can bring biblical stories to life by uncovering real, tangible locations. 5. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest biblical manuscripts. Now, let's talk about one of the most groundbreaking discoveries in biblical archaeology, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Discovered in the Qumran caves near the Dead Sea in 1947. These scrolls contain some of the oldest known manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible, dating back to approximately 200 BCE. The Dead Sea Scrolls include nearly every book of the Hebrew Bible, except for the book of Esther. The scrolls provide invaluable insight into the development of Jewish religious thought and the preservation of biblical texts over centuries. What's remarkable is that the texts found in the Dead Sea Scrolls are remarkably similar to the versions of the Hebrew Bible we use today. demonstrating that the biblical texts have been passed down with incredible accuracy. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls is a game changer for biblical scholars. It confirms the accuracy of biblical transmission and provides us with a glimpse into the world of early Judaism. The scrolls also shed light on the diversity of Jewish thought during the Second Temple period, showing that there were different interpretations of Scripture within the Jewish community. What archaeology hasn't proven yet. While these discoveries have helped us understand the biblical world, there are still some aspects of the Bible that have yet to be fully corroborated by archaeology. For example, the Exodus, the story of the Israelites' mass departure from Egypt, remains a topic of debate. No definitive archaeological evidence has been found to confirm the event, and scholars continue to discuss whether it occurred on a smaller scale or remains undiscovered. Similarly, the Walls of Jericho, famous for their collapse in the book of Joshua, have been the subject of controversy. Excavations at Jericho have produced conflicting results, with some suggesting that the city's walls did indeed collapse, while others believe the evidence is inconclusive. Finally, there is the question of Solomon's temple. While the Bible refers to the grand temple built by King Solomon, no physical remains of the structure have been found, likely due to the multiple destructions and reconstructions of Jerusalem over the centuries. Scholars continue to debate whether the temple existed as described in this Bible or if it was a later addition to the historical narrative. The absence of definitive evidence for these events doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't happen. It simply reflects the challenges of studying ancient history and the limitations of archaeological methods. Conclusion: the Bible as a historical and spiritual document. So, what do we make of all these discoveries? Archaeology has provided us with fascinating insights into the world of the Bible, confirming many aspects of Israelite history while leaving some questions unanswered. Whether you view the Bible as divine revelation, historical record, or a mix of both, the connection between archaeology and the Bible offers a rich and rewarding way to explore the ancient past. Each discovery brings us closer to understanding the people, places, and events that shape the biblical narrative. Thank you for joining me on this archaeological journey. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which discovery surprised you the most? What do you think archaeology tells us about the Bible's historical accuracy? Let me know in the comments below.